So this was last Thursday, and the Boston Bruins loading up here with Dmitry Orlov and Garnet Hathaway from the Washington Capitals in exchange for Craig Smith, a 2023 first-rounder, a second in 2025, and a third in 2024. Minnesota picking up 25% of Orlov's salary, and Boston retaining 50%, or excuse me, Washington retaining 50% of the Bruins, of Orlov's salary. So let's start with this one, guys. This one was a pretty big deal for the Boston Bruins, and they kind of kickstarted all of this.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised when I saw this trade for Washington's sake. I would have thought that, they'd try to push for 1, maybe 2 more years, try to stay competitive for the aging core that's there. But as soon as I saw this, it was like, okay, I guess it's time to tear down for Washington, and the rich get richer with Boston. This D core is going to be ridiculous to play against. Orlov is one of those guys where you can constantly send him out against the other team's best line and say, stay on him, stay on Jack Hughes, stay on Marner, stay on whoever, and he'll keep up with them and shut them down, really. He is such a shutdown guy, and then he can contribute as well. So you're going to pair him with McAvoy, and that's a disgusting top pair. And then the D just gets deeper after that. So amazing for Boston to pick him up. And then adding Hathaway, just adding to the number of pricks on this team, and Boston stays the same they've always been. So yeah, this team, first place in the league, having the best season, way better than Carolina. So yeah, I'm going to mention that every episode now. No, it's a great trade. At least they're doing something. They did trade a lot for this, but it's kind of the going rate for a top 4 defenseman and a bottom 6 forward, as we've seen so far. So big trade, good value both ways. Washington getting a lot back, and this kicked it all off, and it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it certainly was. In case, what I was going to say is we're still getting comments trickling in on those videos, despite the fact that you gave Carolina an A+ in that video. I just wanted to say. Well,
Carolina's done absolutely shit all to get better at this trade deadline so far, so they're the only ones in the top 6 of the East that haven't done anything other than pick up Poop Party. So
yeah, I would expect that to change too. I think they're in on a lot of players. I think Harp, like you said last episode though, when we were talking about the Timo Meier deals, they kind of just set their price internally and don't go over it. So I could still see them, chasing a Brock Besser or a Tyler Bertuzzi or someone like that to give you middle 6 scoring.
Carolina will keep the trade deadline interesting for us.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so talking about this trade, Case, you're absolutely right. Like, what a solid player Dmitry Orlov is. He can play anywhere in this Bruins top 6 defensive pairings here. Like, he can play on the top pair with McAvoy, which is where he's been slotted in, I think, tentatively right now. They're going to probably put him in a position to succeed and then see basically how far they can push him down and play him in different situations and kind of see how it all shakes out. But that D-core is looking great. Hathaway as well, such a Bruins player, like exactly what they need, fits their identity perfectly. So just an absolute win. I think the price was probably the going rate, and when you're getting 2 players for that are going to help your team right now, a team that's already first place in the NHL by a long shot, I think you don't even really worry about the price. You just get it done. So I love the trade for the Bruins. I hate it for my Maple Leafs and everybody else in the Eastern Conference, but great trade for the Bruins. And you're right, like, as I was kind of the same way. As soon as I saw Washington make both of those players scratches that evening, I was like, okay, here we go. And by all accounts, from all of the insiders, this deal came together pretty quickly. And it was one of those things where they scratched them, and then it wasn't, now we have to wait a week. It was, okay, they're out of the lineup. We made our decision. What can we get for these guys? And then we'll worry about turning it around for Ovi's last couple years next season. Like, we'll do it then. So I love the trade. Orlov wasn't signed past this year. None of their defensemen are signed past this year, by the way, except for John Carlson.
Rasmus Sandin. Oh, no, he's not signed.
He is. Actually, he has one more year. That's right.
Okay.
Rasmus Sandin at $1.4 million. So Man, they had to do it. They had to get some return, and I think they realized they couldn't sign him, and said, "You know what? Screw it. Let's get it. Let's get a pick, and let's see what we can do." Love the trade for both sides, honestly.
Yeah, and we should quickly mention that the first rounder from Boston, which is going to be 32nd by all accounts. There was talk about Washington flipping that for a defenseman, maybe a Chychrun or someone like that, but they did choose Rasmus Sandin from your Maple Leafs chat, a young D, obviously, who's kind of been squeezed out of the lineup in Toronto, and so Sandin goes to Washington for a first, and Eric Gustafsson, who's had a good season there. So quick mention of that. But on this deal, I think this is really nice work by Don Sweeney, which I hate to say, but listen, he's made a lot of moves that have worked, and this is another one that makes so much sense. It makes way more sense to get Orlov and Hathaway for these pieces rather than giving up a first and a third for Gavrikov, which is apparently what Columbus is looking for. Apparently, according to Columbus, they thought they had a deal done with Boston and all of that, but I think they got the better defenseman, and they really wanted Garnet Hathaway. He's got connections to Massachusetts. Boston was his childhood team, and that guy is a Bruin through and through. So love this deal for Boston, and they get a whole lot stronger.